It's November 1st, and we had a big storm last night. Like, I mean, a good 7 inches of snow. I had an encounter in here 2 nights ago with Wide 9, my target buck. I only get one opportunity per year at Wide 9 over the past 4 years. So I'm praying that that wasn't the only chance I get.
Life offers no guarantees, but the one thing we've learned for sure is that the time we have is indeed precious. The more time we spend with family, friends, and with nature can make the difference between living a good life and living a great one. Join us on our quest to be participants rather than observers, to learn from our mistakes, to share our successes and our failures as we spend all of the time we have chasing our dreams, fueling our passion, and fueling the fire in the great outdoors. Closed captioning is brought to you by letsrolloutals.ca. Put on my old man shades. All new photos. Oh snap. Looks like we got some action. Beautiful doe. Yep. Weird buck. Little buck. Big buck. Some funky bucks. He doesn't look as wide as if that's Wide 9, but that guy does. He looks wide there. Oh, there's a shooter back here anyway. All right, we're in here checking our cameras because we put out the Antler Obsession Trophy Mineral Mix a little while back so those deer could have all of those nutrients and minerals that they need to grow a healthy set of antlers. And as you can see, we've got a shooter on camera. We know the genetics in here are fantastic. We're gonna create a little bit of browse by cutting the grass down with the whippersnipper. We'll do this over the course of the summer just to create different food supply for the new growth to come in, for these deer to stick around the area. And hopefully, come bow season, we'll tag out on our big buck. We're ready to rock. Hopefully birthday buck shows up tonight. That's otherwise known as Wide 9, and I can put this chapter of my bow hunting career to rest.
All right, we had a doe and 2 fawns come in. She circled around and winded me and took off, but these 2 are still out in the field. As long as they come from that tree line this way, I'm okay. The wind is a north wind tonight. We've got an hour left. Hopefully one of these shooter bucks, there's 2 of them, hopefully one of those shooter bucks steps in tonight. I can see Wide 9, but these damn coyotes are yipping. Man, that's it. I think we're busted. Dang it.
This segment of Fuel the Fire TV was brought to you by Buck Down Archery.
It's November 2nd. We've got a perfect west wind. And this spot, we know that there's a real good 9-pointer in here. He's heavy, we call him Brutus. So we'll see, maybe he'll show his face for the first time in daylight. Folks, well, we're back in the stand here. I'm out at the farm and I'm trying the same setup as I did 2 nights ago. We're right in that hard seek phase of the rut where these bucks are scent jacking fields and, you know, harassing does to see who's in heat and who's not. We're right at the cusp of the chase phase where they really start hounding these deer. Now we saw that little buck all bristled up, got scared, and I was talking to John Purdom, a good buddy of mine, and he's like, maybe that rack was too big. So what I'm gonna do is I've taken a smaller rack and I've cut it so that it just looks like a fork buck. And with that fork buck, maybe we can get something coming in and really feeling like he's the tough guy and the dominant guy.
You know, I think I had every deer out at the farm in front of me that day, except for Brutus, that big, heavy 9-pointer that I know was just lurking in the shadows up in those cedars, waiting for nightfall. And you know what? Those big bucks are hard to pattern, they're hard to fool because they're ghosts. They're big for a reason. And this segment, we're calling Manitoulin monsters. The reason being is we want to take the opportunity to acknowledge and celebrate some of those trophy animals that are taken in and around Manitoulin Island. Just like this big buck I took in season 1 out at Dave Millet's farm in Takema, Ontario. This buck is unique because it's not that he scores high, he scores in the 130s, but he's a 6-pointer, and that's phenomenal. We had the opportunity to get him scored, actually get him aged by the QDMA guys down at Huntfest, and they settled on a 7.5-year-old mature whitetail deer. Now, what was cool about that is that we had the sheds for this buck from his 5.5, and then his 6.5, and his 7.5-year-old years. Now, he was an 8-pointer, but as you can see, he held his mass every year. And in fact, in his 7.5 year, his average mass measurement was 5.25 inches, and he held that all the way through. Another cool thing is that when we found this antler in the same food plot that we shot him in, this one scored 52, his right side. And in his 6.5 year, he was still an 8-pointer, but he was starting to get beat up with these big clubs on either end of his antler. He was getting heavier. This side scored 57, and then in this year, right, he really got a crown on his brow tine, and he scored just over 60 on this one side. For a 6-pointer with a 22-inch spread, that's absolutely crazy. Now, if you want to see the whole hunt with this guy, go to our YouTube channel. You can see the hunt in its entirety, and you can watch him walk out, compare him to some decent deer in all of his big buck glory. That's this week's Manitoulin Monsters. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
This segment is brought to you by Indigenous Tourism Ontario. This segment is brought to you by Kickaboo Meat Seasoning.
Hey folks, in this week's Learning Curve tip, we're at Manitoulin Island Meats. We're with local butcher Darren Smith, and we've taken off the 2 hindquarters, the front shoulders, and the neck. And now the last thing we've got to do is take out the tenderloin and the backstrap.
First thing I'm going to do is remove the tenderloins. Simple, 2 easy cuts. 1 down either side. And it basically just pulls right out. Just like that. And then now we're going to remove the back straps. You run your knife down either side of the backbone, all the way down. Then you can go on here and go underneath the back strap, along the rib, just like that.
All right, so we got our back strap here. What are we going to do with this? We're going to do one into roast, and then we'll do one into
roast, yeah.
One into steaks. Okay.
You want to peel this off, so you find the seam, run your finger along, run your hand in there,
Yep.
and it'll pull right off.
Now what is this used for? Just grind?
Grind.
But this stuff is no good.
No, this is just fat.
Okay.
That's all just fat. There's a little bit of meat there, but that's just fat.
Okay.
Feed the birds. And that can be burger or tied to a roast. Depending on how big you want your roast, you try to eyeball it so you get it in half. It looks pretty close. String. Best to start in the middle, work your way out, and after it's tied, you can either cut it in half or leave it whole.
Well, I know I like to have supper, and then I like to have sandwiches the next
snack,
night.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to leave this guy whole.
So now we'll do this one into chops. This would be your ribeye end.
Yeah.
And then the rest is like a strip loin it. You take your knife, depending on whether you want it small or butterflied. This isn't very big, so we'll butterfly it. You end up with butterflied ribeye.
So you do a half a cut?
Halfway, well, almost all the way through, and then all the way through. Then it splits up.
And these you can cut a little bit thicker than you would the hindquarter,
Yep,
because it's
absolutely.
a little more tender.
That's right.
And then with the tenderloin,
itself, what do you do there?
You clean up a little bit of the
Dried blood and stuff?
blood on the outside. You can tie them together or leave them like that.
And there you go. So from that little buck, we were able to get a backstrap roast that'll be definitely food for Diane and I and the girls for sure. And then we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 little butterfly steaks, and then some meat for the frying pan. All right, folks, that's this week's learning curve tip. It's our third segment of how to break down a deer with local butcher Darren Smith. Let's get back to the program.
Okay, what a crazy ride in here today. We had a big storm last night. Like, I mean, a good 7 inches of snow. I had an encounter in here 2 nights ago with a wide 9. I only get one opportunity per year at wide 9. I'm praying that that wasn't the only chance I get.
Man, I don't know how to put that into words. That sinking feeling you get when you see that buck, your target buck, my target buck of 4 years, seeing him take off and trot away. I just don't know what to say. Other than tomorrow's a new day. Maybe third time I see him this year is a charm. That's yet to be determined. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back.
This segment of Fuel the Fire is brought to you by ProGas Energy Services.
The weather this November has been just crazy, unseasonably cold. We've got all kinds of snow, but we're sitting tight in here today, hoping to get another shot at a decent buck. We're just gonna let things get settled down in here and then see what happens. This is a long trek in, so I'm ready to put some meat on the table. 2.5-year-old buck. And I said the first 2.5-year-old deer that I saw this year, I was gonna take. I saw him go down right in the field here. So that's perfect. I'm super satisfied with that deer, especially in these conditions. It's just crazy weather.
Here's my Luminoc. He shouldn't have went very far. I think I saw him crash. And there he is right there. Well, there you have it. A nice little 2.5-year-old eater buck. Man, you know, I'm all for shooting big bucks. I love shooting big bucks. But you know what? I love eating deer too. And last year, I passed on every single deer I saw. And I said, you know what? I'm not gonna do that this year. The first deer that gives me a decent shot that's over 1.5 years, I'm gonna take it, especially with my bow and especially when you're self-videoing. This is just awesome. He gave us some great footage. He's gonna be a good eating deer. Awesome, he didn't go very far. He keeled over right here in the field and I couldn't be any happier. You know, you gotta fuel your passion, you gotta fuel the fire, and you have to get outdoors. This is fantastic.